The Games Workshop rumor mill has been churning a lot lately. With the past 3 Warhammer 40,000, 3 codexes, they've been releasing them in 3 codex increments, having now ended. The big rumor mill is what are the next 3? What is in store for Q3 and Q4? And with Age of Sigmar 2.0 around the corner, what's in store for that? With all the other kind of stuff coming out for Imperial Armor and everything, what kind of release dates do we see? I know we had a Warhammer Fest, or whatever it was, not too long ago here. That was, I think, almost about a month and a half now ago. And we got plenty of reveals from that. You know, some Necromunda games gangs that were coming out, Adeptus Titanicus and such like that. So today I want to kind of compile everything into a super video. Super video? I guess I'm going to stick with that term. Of what's coming out with the rest of the year from Games Workshop, from Warhammer 40,000, from Warhammer Age of Sigmar, no longer Warhammer Fantasy. Some of the stuff that is kind of on the horizon here. And a lot of this is kind of compiled from spikybits.com. They have a really good article here that goes through everything, and I want to kind of talk through that with you guys here, as well as some of the other stuff that I've seen just kind of floating around the nethersphere of news and rumors. So for the most part, guys, let's just hit this with a hard disclaimer up front. Take any of this information with a grain of salt, minus a few facts that are confirmed from previous announcements during Warhammer Fest and such like that. So like I said, kind of don't go off the deep end and say it's Diane Spartacus has told us fact. No, it's 40K open day kind of gave us a lot of reveal dates and release dates for certain things, so we can kind of go off that. But other than that, let's kind of talk about what this Q3 is going to look like, what these next 3 months are going to look like. And the biggest kind of rumor is it going to be orcs? Is it going to be space wolves? Is it going to be chaos? Is it going to be genestealer cults? What are some of the next 40K Warhammer codexes? Well, the biggest one that's kind of surfaced is that orcs are coming first. Orcs are getting their first codex getting redone and overhauled, and that's due out maybe late August, early September. Now, there's 2 conflicting rumors here. One big rumor is that we'll see Space Wolves right after that, but then another one contradicts that and says we will see Abaddon the Despoiler and some new chaos right on the heels of orcs. Now, this might not mean that we'll get a Black Legion codex supplement. It might not mean that at all. It might just mean that we'll get some Black Legion models, a Abaddon model update, some of his Terminator update, or I'm sorry, an update on his Terminators, the Bringers of Despair, something like that. We haven't seen a lot of new models from a lot of what we're talking about here, the Space Wolves, Orcs, and the Black Legion, so hopefully we'll get some sort of refresh for them. So with Q3 kind of stacked up here, we've got the big Talons of the Emperor book codex, or I'm sorry, Forge World supplement coming out for Imperial Armor. This will talk about the Adeptus Custodes, the Grey Knights and Sisters of Silence, as well as how to kind of incorporate them into your Imperial Armor. The Warhammer Fest kind of, they went into a lot of Forge World previews, and those were supposed to land here in Q3 and Q4. 2 of the bigger things as well from Q3 is Adeptus Titanicus. Now that is the really cool little, I guess you could say, reduced format board game, in which case you're playing with Imperial Knights, you're playing with Reaver Battle Titans. Kind of think of it almost like, I don't want to say Epic 40,000 because that had to do with way more than just Titans, but Adeptus Titanicus is pretty much going to be that way to play with Titans on the tabletop. These won't be the same exact models that we see in some other games like Kill Team, which we'll get into, or some other little variants, these other little small games where you pretty much just use the models from the tabletop and you give them repurposed rules. Now, these have smaller form factors. So the Imperial Knight Questoris, for example, will have a smaller form factor Imperial Knight that isn't the gigantic hulking one. You'll have the, like the Reaver Battle Titans. Those will be the Warlord Battle Titans will be larger form factor models, much in the vein of some of the larger models that we see today. So that is due out for a Q3 release, as well as the next Necromunda gang, Cawdor. Now, Cawdor is the one that's like it's kind of a cop out to say they all have cowls on, but they kind of a lot of blues in their color theme, I guess you could say. They almost look like zealous monks, almost like flagellants. Now, I don't know a whole ton about Necromunda. I've actually never played Necromunda, so I'm not going to go into what I think this is going to entail, how these guys are going to play in Necromunda. It's not fair to you guys if I gave you just completely bogus information. But the 2018 kind of Necromunda release lineup was revealed at Warhammer Fest. So at least we have an idea of what's coming out. You know, we had gotten a new release during Warhammer Fest, but we know that the Orlocks came in Q1, Bansar came in Q2, and then Cawdor's coming in Q3. And we'll get to that Q4 launch of Dalak when we talk about Q4. But that's a pretty cool thing there. You know, we're finally getting Necromunda fleshed out a lot. From what I've heard, the new system is very awesome. So if you're into kind of a smaller skirmish style battle system, very similar to Mordheim, or the way Mordheim was in Warhammer Fantasy, Necromunda might be right up your alley. It really gets into the nitty and gritty of the Underhive and what kind of goes on in the gang system of all these Imperial planets. So it's a really cool thing from a lore perspective, and it feels almost like a Shadowrun. It's very different take, and it has a lot of RPG elements. So I think Necromunda is really cool, but I've just, again, never played it, so I don't have a genuine idea of how it actually plays, unfortunately. But we should also, since we're on the theme of little board games, or board games of the sort, Kill Team is going to have a new and improved rule set that is coming out hopefully here in Q3. We got that teaser trailer during Warhammer Fest, so hopefully we should see some of those rules come out here within these next 3 months, as well as some stuff on those Age of Sigmar multi-part kits for the Night Haunts and Stormcast, because that's the big thing that's come with Age of Sigmar 2.0. We've already kind of seen some Night Haunts trickle out from Warhammer community page. Some new ones got released, some painting guides, and some really cool trailer reveals. So we should hopefully see more and more of that. So Q3 will be kind of interesting, right? It'll kind of paint the pace. We know Adeptus Titanicus is a confirmed Q3. We know that Necromunda Cawdor is a confirmed Q3. Everything else I've mentioned so far is just, unfortunately, a rumor. We do know that codexes are released typically in groups of 3 for Warhammer 40,000's 8th edition. So hopefully we will get something in Q3 that is reminiscent of that, with just the Orcs late August, early September release, and a 40k Chaos expansion featuring Abaddon right on its heels. That would make a lot of sense because it would fit into that 3 codex package. Because Q4 is not going to have, or I don't think it might be too much to squeeze in another codex during Q4. Usually Games Workshop likes to really push hard on their Christmas bundles, stuff like that, especially in December. So you almost lose one whole entire month out of December, because that month they focus way less on releases and more so on different kind of bundles, kind of Christmas sales, stuff like that. So if we're taking a look at Q4 predominantly being October and November, we would look at hopefully a Codex Space Wolves released late September, early October. And it depends here. One of the big rumors surrounding the Orcs and the Space Wolves is that we get another, I guess you could say, like just like Forgebane was, like another starter box. Wherein we had this in the past. We had a Warhammer 40,000 7th edition starter box that had Orcs and Space Wolves. And we've had it even more recently. We had Space Wolves, and I believe it was, I want to say Black Legion. It was someone very recently. They actually released the model for it, the special character, the Rune Lord for it, as an independent model because it was so popular. So it wouldn't be completely out of left field if they did that. They've already done it just recently, like I said, for Forgebane with the I almost called them Tyranids, with the Necrons. But we'll see how that kind of plays out. What's really supposed to be coming with Space Wolves is supposed to be a new Space Wolf Primaris set. And we've gotten that already with the Dark Angels, with the Blood Angels, with the Ultramarines. So it's probably going to be a lot of the same right there, right? So the Space Wolf kind of upgrade spur that makes them so that, oh, this unit of normal Primaris now looks like Space Wolf Primaris. We'll also get some data cards as always, some really cool supposed ice-themed dice. That'll be a nice little cool touch. I could picture kind of like a frosty, clear white dice that you can throw with maybe the 6th thing being the Space Wolf symbol or some sort of rune. I think that'd be kind of a really cool thematic touch. And honestly, I love all those thematic dice. Like I've got the Blood Angels one, I've got the old Skaven one that came out in 7th edition around the time of End Times. They released a box of, or I'm sorry, a little tin. They came in a little tin. I think it was of 6 dice or 7 dice, and they're like these green. You can see through them. They're really, really cool, translucent dice. They're pretty big though, so I'm not sure what they're going to be doing for these ice themed dice, but they've released a themed die for every army up until this point, so it makes sense we would get that. But hopefully this will release in conjunction with another codex and a box set game, because I would love to see them really hit Space Wolves in a fun way. Space Wolves are probably one of the more popular chapters of Space Marines, and we haven't gotten any new Space Wolf, I guess, new units or anything like that since 2016 when we got the Wolfen. So hopefully with the release of Space Wolves, we might get Leman Russ back. That's one of the really big rumors of Leman Russ returning, and that would make me so happy. And Angren's supposed to be rumored, but that's supposed to be a 2019 World Eaters kind of expansion and set way down the line here. Well, early down the line, at least in 2019. But Angren's supposed to be coming down the line as far as one of the first, the next Demon Primarch. So that could be great. But in the meantime, Leman Russ, I'd love to see him. I mean, he's one of my favorite Primarchs next to Sanguinius himself. And Sanguinius is dead, so you know we're not going to be seeing his ass. But as well as for some of the other stuff from Q4, we're supposed to be getting another Horus Heresy book that was originally named Angelus, which was renamed now to Malevolence. Hopefully, apparently, we're supposed to be getting a Codex Gene Stealers Cults. So I'm not sure that's going to be the third Codex of this trifecta or not. But we'll get our last Necromunda gang for the year with House Deloc. Another chapter approved for 2018, which is actually supposed to have, which they said during Warhammer Fest, the beta rules for Sisters of Battle. So just like we saw with the three kind of pseudo codexes that they released at the advent of Warhammer 40,000 8th edition, we'll kind of get that with chapter approved. We'll get that with the Sisters of Battle, like the index for each race that came out in the beginning of 8th edition. We should be getting those types of rules for Sisters of Battle. So at least we can play them if we already have models in 8th edition, and we'll have some format of rules that we can kind of tinker with. We know are going to be around what we're going to see in 2019 when we get our new Sisters of Battle and their new plastic sets. But also there is a good deal of Christmas bundles that were confirmed really early, actually. I think that the rumor for this was confirmed like way back in like March, I want to say. And they're mainly the typical kind of Christmas bundle that you see with a grip of terrain pieces bundled together, both Age of Sigmar and Warhammer 40,000 friendly, as well as some stuff from Lord of the Rings. But then you also have your major paint sets in varying shapes and sizes, from like 53 paints and a bunch of brushes and stuff like that, over up to the huge one that's got all the paints. So the typical kind of Christmas bundle that you would expect to see those in Q4 as well. But hopefully this kind of gives you guys a really good idea of what's coming out for the rest of the year for Warhammer 40,000, for Age of Sigmar, for Games Workshop as a whole. And keep in mind, guys, these are rumors. If we don't see Codex Gene Stealer Cult in Q4, we'll probably see it in 2019. It might be part of the 3 set. Let's just say my like assumption, my kind of like, hey, this is what I think for 2019's Q1 3 set of codexes would be Gene Stealer Cults, Sisters of Battle, and a World Eater supplement that has Angren. That's probably my kind of my bucket list for that month, for 2019. But we should hopefully be seeing some other stuff coming out here in the coming weeks, days, months, all that action, kind of hoping to either solidify this, tell us other news, and all sorts of stuff. As these kind of bigger news updates come out, I will, as always, cover them with you guys. I want to always make sure we're staying true to the hobby and touching on some of the stuff that makes up the backbone of this channel, you know, which is Games Workshop, which is Warhammer Fantasy, which is Warhammer 40,000, all of its lore and all of its hobbyist thingamabobs. But as always, guys, thanks for watching here today. If you like this, go ahead and comment below. Let me know you want to hear or see more about this type of information. I'd love to keep giving you some actual real-world Games Workshop news other than just the history lore news I always like to deliver upon thee. But as always, guys, have a good one. Thanks for watching, and take care.